Okay, so we're gonna harvest the grapes today. I'm all geared up. I don't know what it is about the grapes, but something on the leaf causes an allergy on my skin. So whenever I'm digging into it, I need to have long sleeves on. So let me kind of show you what's starting to happen here. We have some grapes that are already turning to raisins, while we have others that are still green, but you can see they're kind of on the same bunch. So we're gonna go in and selectively pick out some of the grapes today, but you're not gonna see them as purple as what you'll see in the store typically. So you can test them, just try them and see if they're ripe. We have been picking off some of the bunches already just to eat as snacks. So I know that many of them are ready and need to be harvested. Another thing that's important about grapes is you actually don't want to wash them until you're ready to eat them. So I know the first reaction I have is, oh, let's get them in and let's wash them. Or if you process them how we will, which we'll show you, then you will want to wash them. And if you're going to be harvesting a bunch at once, it's probably best then, because it's the only way to preserve them is to freeze them. Okay, I did talk in my grapevine video, and that was before we started to have this issue with the skeletonizers, the leaf skeletonizers, but you can see they've been on those. I've been somewhat spraying them with an organic spray, and it's been killing some of these tiny caterpillars, obviously not all of them. So when you see this issue where the leaves are drying up in the center and dying, it's called a leaf skeletonizer. It's a little yellow and black caterpillar that turns into a black shiny moth. You want to nip that in the bud as soon as you can, because it will become an issue. It's been 112 here where I live, and it's really hot, or really hard to want to do much out in the yard when it's so hot. So I knew that we were close to harvesting them, so I haven't done any massive control of that issue. I've just been trying to keep it at bay. And then once I harvest them, I'll prune back some of the branches, and I'll go in there and really try to make sure that all of those leaf skeletonizers are dead. The issue if I don't do that is they can continue to defoliage the plant, and that will weaken it so that it might not come back, or it won't come back as strong next year. All right, so I mentioned that I will be spraying, and I have been spraying somewhat, and that I'm using an organic pesticide. And this is actually, it's a BT, which I probably could not pronounce. Bacillus, yeah, I'm not gonna try that one, Latin words, but this is what I use. But this BT is a really cool organic compound, and it only works on certain insects. But what it actually does is, as they ingest it, it changes or alters the pH in their stomachs so that they're no longer able to eat. And so it slowly kills them, and it will stop them from reproducing, but it's not going to kill your bees and your pollinizers. So it's a very specific and targeted organic compound or organic chemical. But it's also been studied, and there has been no, from all of the research that I've done on it, there's been no adverse effect from human consumption of this. It doesn't alter our pH levels to a measurable degree. All right, I go super high class here. I grab the old scissors and the old pan, and I just go at it. So I'm gonna go at it, and I'll get this first clump here because it looks good, and show you what I'm doing. And sometimes they grow together like this one, so sometimes you may almost want to have something to catch it, but this is what I'm talking about. This is actually a pretty ripe one. So you can see that's some pretty dark purple, and that's about as ripe as they're gonna get, but I have green ones on there. But I'm pretty sure if I were to try that green one right now, it would taste almost as ripe as the purple. So if you're gonna wait until they all look like this, you're gonna lose a lot of your crop. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm gonna just harvest them all today, any that are ready. We have a couple bunches that aren't ready, but I'm gonna harvest them all today. And then I'll show you in a separate video how we process them to save them. So I'll just go through and we'll just speed it up so you can see what I'm doing. I'm gonna leave that one for just another week. There's more green on it than I'd prefer. The same with this one. So, and honestly, what I'm gonna harvest today is gonna take me a good part of the afternoon to process and preserve. We freeze them for snacks for the kids. But that process is kind of time consuming. So it's okay if I leave a second harvest that I'll come back for in a week or two. And I'm gonna, like, some of them will have already, like...
Go get them, Sammy.
Some of them are gonna have really small grapes. Some will have raisins on it. That's okay, we're gonna process that out. I will tell you that last year, most of our grapes were about this size. And this year I tried something new. I went in, and as the grapes were developing and as they were small, I cut off the bottom inch or so. It wasn't even an inch. And that basically allowed the grapes to grow larger. And that actually worked out really well for us. Our grapes this year are bigger. What I'm gonna do next year is I'm actually gonna go back and cut them back even more. I probably cut off 10, maybe 15% of the bottom of the bunch as it was young and developing. Next year I'll probably do 25%. I always feel like I'm wasting when I do that, but obviously we get bigger grapes and better grapes. So next year we'll cut off about 25% of it as it's developing. So my guess right here is I had between 30, I don't know. I mean, that's probably 10 to 15, if not 20 pounds, and that would be the same. So anywhere from 20 to 40 pounds. And I'll have Aubrey go through with the camera and show you what's still left on these two plants. And honestly, it's maybe a half, maybe 2/3, but there's still so much left on the vine that I'm gonna leave for another week. And this right here is gonna take me hours to wash, and I still have the green grapes to do. So I'll have Aubrey show you just what's left on this vine. And this is just 2 plants right here. Plus, I know my daughters have been stealing whole bunches for the last week or two. All right, so both of those are red seedless Concord grapes. And every year it's been like this. The only difference this year is I'd say that they are at least 50% bigger, the individual grapes, than what they were last year. Our green Thompsons, they're also seedless. We've never had a ton from this one, and I don't know if it's because the plant itself doesn't produce as much, or it's because it gets an extra probably hour and a half of shade that the Concords don't get. But this year, we have a bigger yield than we have had probably ever on our Thompsons. So I'm just gonna stack them here. I know the prettiest spot. And just show you kind of what we have. They kind of fuse together and get leaves and branches and other bunches stuck in there, so it's hard sometimes to know what you're cutting or where to cut. Like that is fused on the light. There we go.
Be more gentle with them.
Oh, I picked that early, I assumed. That one, you can tell the difference here. These have a yellowish tint, and some of them are starting to turn raisin. This is still a less opaque green tint. They're edible. They're actually okay. They're just more on the tart side. They're soft, but it could have stayed on here another week. just weighed this on the scale, and it's 47 pounds minus the basket. The basket was subtracted from that, so 47 pounds of grapes. And I think we easily have 20 pounds more that are left on both vines, or all 4 vines. And my kids probably have eaten anywhere from 3 to 5 pounds. So what is that? 50, 70, just shy of 80 pounds of grapes this year from 4 vines. So pretty impressive. Next year, I think the change that I'll do, I will cut off 25% as soon as the grapes set, and they look like tiny little pellets when they set. And I'll cut off 25% of the bunch at that time next spring and see if I can't get even bigger grapes. But really, I'm really happy with the majority of these grapes. Turned out the same size that you're gonna see in your store. There's some that are smaller, but next year I'm gonna see if I can't get a little bit bigger on them. All right, so thanks for tuning into this one. We will show you in a follow-up video how we process them. There's different ways to process them, but what we do is we'll save a couple for fresh grapes, and the majority are gonna go washed, preserved, and put in the freezer in little half-cup bags, and the kids will literally eat them throughout the next year. So gives them a treat. All right, let me know if you have any questions or any comments in the comments below. Thank you.